how's everybody doing?
Yeah.
We have a lot more to share with you guys later, but thanks for coming out to our first New Year's Eve service. Actually, the presence is already here, as Cordula says. She almost couldn't do the second song, she's already in tears. But we want to honor God.
First of all, I want to thank the Lord and Almighty above, because if it wasn't for Him, I wouldn't be standing here, and you all wouldn't be here either. Second of all, I want to express my deepest thanks and my sincere appreciation to Pastor Keith and Pastor Melody for their leadership and their teaching. Because it wasn't until I walked in those doors on October the 16th, I remember the day, and Pastor Bradley, was teaching about relationships. Now, I've been to church all my life. I know the basic principles: believe, forgiveness, do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. I know those things. And it wasn't until that day that I came to church here, it was something that sat with me that I had to have more. But that's the day I started my relationship with God. I've been to church, like I said, for many years. And I told Pastor Melanie, 90% of the time when I went to church, I fell asleep. That is no joke. It was either during praise and worship or it was during the deliverance of the word. And that's because I didn't have a relationship with God. And people would ask me, well, what was the message about? I couldn't tell them what the message was about. I couldn't tell them the topic. Even if I stayed awake, I couldn't tell them. But if you were to ask me today what I have learned, I can tell you about walking in liberty. I can tell you about God's fulfillment, God's path to fulfillment. I can tell you about compromise, consequences, and chaos. I can tell you about the wilderness, and I can tell you about moving beyond the hurt. But it wasn't until I started my relationship with God. And you know what? That was in the fourth quarter of 2011. Okay? He brought me comfort, He brought me joy, and He brought me peace. I can imagine what He has in store for me for 2012.
Hi. I didn't know what I would talk about when Pastor Melanie asked me to come up front, so I just prayed and asked the Lord to make my words His words, or make His words my words. So I've, like Z said, this is not my first walk in Christ, walk in church, but it was something about this church. I've been searching. I've been in Charlotte for 3 years, and I've been searching. I've been going from church to church, from place to place, and I really didn't feel comfortable or feel led to join. But the first day that I came here, I knew I would be coming back. And it probably was only like 5 people here, including them. Well, not that time, but the next time. But I knew it was something about worshiping here that I wanted to do. And it took me a while, and I kind of dragged my feet, and my mother said I was dating. And I'm like, I'm not dating. I know this is where I want to be, so I just went ahead and joined the church. I know it's no coincidence that Pastor Melanie and Pastor Keith are my next door neighbors at a time where I'm searching. Like I said, I just moved to Charlotte 3 years ago, so I don't really get out much for various reasons. I kind of just sit on my balcony and I see them coming and going. And she asked me to come, and I came. And I'm just really glad that I did. I'm really thankful for Pastor Keith and Pastor Melanie for the ministry. I'm thankful for a church family. I'm thankful that we get to fellowship and I get to I meet more people in Charlotte, and I'm just looking forward to a great year. And I just thank them.
Amen. Pastor Keith and Pastor Bradley and the Heirs Christians. I think Z, you hit it on the head. I was kind of like you, church. I go to church, and a lot of times from church I never really got anything. What I did get was a lot of motivation, meaning that, it was a lot of singing, dancing, everybody running around, jumping, and, it's good. It was more the motivational thing, and, I would leave out, I would feel good. It was like, I feel good, I can take this week on. I can get through this week. But I didn't learn anything. And, I would still go about my life. But when I came here, I found that I learned things. Not just about how to live, but how to treat people, just how to treat myself, how to be a better person overall. Not that I'm a bad person, but when you can read the Bible, you can go to church, but if you don't understand the word and the way that Pastor Keith and Pastor Melody explains it, you won't get it. And they explain it in such a way that I really do understand it. And what brought me here, I love the story of how I got to this church. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I moved down here. My entire family is up there. I'm the only person in my family that moved down here. Things got tough a little bit, and I was about to move back, and I was just like, no, I want to stay here. For some reason, I just want to stay here. I don't want to move back. And how I met this wonderful man is my battery went dead on my car, and I needed to jump. And I was like, well, I need to jump, so somebody's going to give me a jump. So, I saw him walking, but I looked at him, he was like, he had the Newark, New Jersey look like, and I was like, I looked at him, I said, he's going to give me a jump, no matter what. When I say that, I mean it in the sense of, no matter what even though he doesn't look like he would want to give me one, I'm going to convince him to give me a jump. Trust me, if he says something mean to me, I'm going to counteract that with something, he's going to smile, I'm going to give me a jump from this guy. So when I asked him, I was prepared for his rebuttals, but he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, that was easy. So he went and got the jump. And I noticed he had some workout clothes on, and I was like, oh, you work out? I have some DVDs. Which I gotta get you. And I was like, I got a DVD for you. And he was like, okay, I got this workout DVD. He's like, okay, yeah. I was like, we'll exchange numbers. And he came over, he called me a few days later, and I gave him the DVD. And when he came over, we started talking. And as I know now, he didn't care about the DVDs. He was just concerned about, But anyway, he came over, we started talking, and he told me he was a pastor, and I just was listening to what he was saying, and I was just like, wow. And we started talking for quite a time. And at the time I was, I had a girlfriend, we lived together, and he was speaking, and he spoke about relationships, and I was like, wow, wait a minute, come upstairs right now. Please, come tell her this. I brought him upstairs in my apartment and said, listen to him, he's a pastor, listen what he has to say. And because I was excited at the things I just learned from this guy in just 5 minutes. I was like, you have to come upstairs. And I took him upstairs, and she didn't get it, I guess. You know what I mean? That's why I'm always here by myself, because I'm no longer with her. But that's how I met this guy. And all I can say is, I told you this before. I never told you this, but I told you I'm here every week. Because the reason why is I'm all the way down here. All the way down here. Not one person in my family, and I have a huge family. My grandmother had 11 kids, and over 60 grandkids. We have a huge family back up there, and I came down by myself. And when I came into this church, there's a lot of things that they showed me and taught me that I didn't understand at first, but as time went on, I saw how God was working His purpose in me. And because I see that, that's why I'm here every day, every week, anytime, whenever I'm here, in any kind of way I could be here, because these two are such wonderful people. I've told him, I've told her that they are such an inspiration to me. Really, and truthfully, I tell you guys, there's hardly anybody that I meet is an inspiration to me. People was always calling me all the time, asking me for advice and everything. I'm like, wow, I actually met people who I can look up to and I can look at and say, these are inspirational people to me, how their marriages, how I see these, how they present themselves, how they teach everybody, how they love one another, how they love us. Yeah. And I think that's just a beautiful thing, and I'm glad to be a part of this situation here. I didn't say anything about 2012, but I hope to have a better year than this year.
Yeah. So like everybody else, I really didn't have anything that I planned to talk about. So I met Pastor Keith and Melanie through Ryan, who Pastor Keith knew, and it was his mentor at Ohio State, OH. So I came to the church actually for the very first, the grand opening service, and it was awesome, and it's definitely learned a lot that first time, and I just felt that this was something was different, and I felt the Spirit. I felt moved to continue to come here, and I'm really glad that I did. I will say that they are excellent. They have a wonderful, wonderful marriage, which I think, particularly in the Black community, is something that is so important, and that we need more role models. I'm a physician, so I see it all the time that people just really just don't get it right with relationships. And I think for me, like when we first came in, like the fact that we were doing a block on relationships, it was so huge because a lot of times we don't talk about that. I mean, like Zip said, you go to church and it's just like they're just reading scripture and a lot of it, Lord said, and all this other kind of stuff. And I just really, I just don't. That's not me. I don't get anything from that. You know what I'm saying? So I came here. It was very different. And I learned a lot. For me, the biggest thing, the breakthrough that I had was when we did a fast. It was a 40-day fast, which was guided by our wonderful pastors. And so I kind of was like, a fast, like 40 days? Like, I mean 4 days, right? Because we were told to pray on how long we were going to fast, and so I did hear 40, but I was like, nah. Like, I was like, that's not really what I'm hearing, but that's what it was. So I was like, going into this fast, like, whatever, I'm just gonna roll with it and see what happens. So little did I know that a lot was gonna happen. So I feel like in this church, a lot of focus is on like birthing your purpose and being who you need to be and finding what your gifts are and like letting those be birthed to serve the kingdom. And so, which is one of the reasons why I love coming here. So during this fast, it was for a different reason, which I won't get into, but so I was fasting, and I was like, God, I really want to know what my purpose is. I enjoy singing. Music was my first word. I love to sing, but I chose medicine as a career, but always kind of deep in my heart was just like, I really love music. That's my first love. There's a difference between being successful and feeling fulfilled. And so music does that for me. So but I didn't really know like what the role was. So I had prayed to God and asked what my purpose was and to reveal the role of music and all that kind of stuff. And I had dibbled and dabbled in songwriting in the past and just doing a couple things. Well, since the fast, which was in October, kind of mostly in October, I have co-written and recorded 6 songs. Wow. Hit songs, not to be, humility is a good thing, but God was working for me. But they're like really good songs. And so I've new producers in Ohio, producers in Miami. So I've just been traveling and recording, and it's been amazing. And when I recorded the first song, I felt the Spirit. I don't even remember recording the song at all. This was during the fast, and I just remember like listening to the song afterwards and just like crying because it was just very eye-opening to me. And so, God revealed to me through my journaling and through my prayer that this was something that I needed to do and that He was going to back me up on. So that's what I did, and I listened to Him, and I was obedient. And I'm telling you, like God comes through, and if you are obedient to Him, and He just blesses you. And I have been so blessed since coming to this church, and since doing that fast in multiple ways in my relationship, at work, in music. And I just hope that I can continue to be a blessing for everybody here through praise and worship. And I know 2012 has big, big, big things coming. So.